This is Mark Strassman, reporter with Etopia Media's Entertainment Technology World. We're about to speak to Kurt Schwenk, who's the general manager for the Digital Cinema Division of NEC Solutions America. Welcome back to Etopia Media's Entertainment Technology World, Kurt.
Thanks, Mark.
Why don't we just get started by having you review for us and to put in context what we're talking about, the Digital Cinema Initiative that was launched in the not-too-distant past, and what its mission was, and talk about whether it's accomplished that.
Okay. DCI, the Digital Cinema Initiative, was a group set up by all the studios and funded by the studios for a limited time period. That group's original dictate was to come up with both technology and operational standards for the conversion to digital cinema from traditional film cinema, as well as come up with a business plan. Eventually it was decided that they should abandon the business plan portion and leave that to third-party companies. However, their primary dictate continued to be technology and operational issues. So they did complete their job and announced and released the final specifications on July 27th, 2005. So that would be about 9 months ago. And since then, everyone within the industry on the technology side has been working forward to meet those specifications.
So tell us how NEC products, and particularly the Starus NC25005 digital cinema projector, relate to these Digital Cinema Initiative standards.
All of our products are actually designed specifically to meet those standards. We have a full line of projectors now. The NC2500S is our large-scale projector. It's actually the brightest projector on the market and can do cinema screens up to about 70 to 75 feet in width. We also have a new unit that we're launching this year at Show West in March, so we're about, I think, memory serves, we're about 6-7 weeks away from that, and that's the NC1500C, which is our new mid-size projector for screens up to 45 feet, and then we are having a redesign done on our small projector that we've had great success with in the post-production industry, which was the IS-8. It's now being converted to an NC800C with the added functionalities and software programming that the larger units have.
Okay, and that's what we're going to mainly talk about here. What's the importance and function for a post-production house of having one of these digital cinema projectors? And tell our non-industry people exactly what a post-production house is and where it fits into the ecology of Hollywood.
Okay, well, the post house basically can be within a studio or exterior to a studio, and they take the completed film product, if you will, and they will convert it into the various formats that are needed. They will make it into a digital cinema master. They will do the home video master, which the DVDs are duplicated from. They can also be the companies that do the special effects and finalize the films. So for post houses, they need to be able to move to digital as the rest of the industry moves to digital. NEC took a little bit different tact than our competitors in that we felt that the conversion of the post houses needed to come first before you could have a successful conversion of distribution to digital.
So you viewed them as the horse that needed to be put before the cart.
Exactly, which is why we launched this whole system with the IS-8, which is the smallest, lightest 2K DLP projector on the market.
So again, explain how what the relationship is between studios, theaters, and post-production houses in terms of the adoption of a digital cinema standard for the whole industry.
Well, basically you need to have all three of them signed on to make this make sense. You need to have the studios releasing the films digitally, you need to have the post houses equipped to finish the films digitally, and you need to have the exhibitors equipped to receive the films digitally in order to make this transition happen.
Has your strategy of concentrating on the post-production houses been successful so far?
It has. We actually have the largest concentration of post houses of anyone in this field. We have 24 post houses currently on our list that have been converted to digital. Those post houses include facilities within the studios such as Disney, Warner Brothers, Sony, Pixar. They all have our projectors in-house. We also have independent post houses such as Technicolor, Complete Post, along with many others that also carry our projectors.
Specifically, in the post house, on a day-to-day basis, what kind of projects and what kind of structure within those projects are your products used for?
They're used everything from actual color correction all the way down to the master creation for digital cinema.
Okay. If you can do it with suitable modesty, how does NEC rank within the industry in terms of its placement of its digital cinema equipment in post-production houses?
Within the post industry, we're pretty much considered, I think, the best within the industry. We're particularly proud that we have so many at the studio levels in the various studios, and we are particularly proud that Pixar actually chose our projector for color correction for all of their films.
Is the the merger of Pixar and Disney going to be affected in some way by your equipment?
Well, we hope that it's good for both of them, being they're two of our biggest customers. So it shouldn't affect anything except that it actually allows them to already be working very closely together because they're working on the same standard equipment.
Which, in fact, was part of the reason for having digital cinema standard in the first place.
Correct.
Okay. Do these systems that are in place in post-production houses differ in any significant way from the ones in theaters, or are they really just the same thing?
They're pretty much the same thing. You have to be even more critical on your QC for the post houses because obviously if the color is within 80% of specification in a theater, which to be honest with you, our goal is 100% everywhere. But you obviously, one theater being 80 or 90% within spec is fine, versus a post house being 80 or 90% in spec means that every theater out there that's 100% in spec ends up with something that's substandard to what they can do.
And if it's 70 and 70, you're down to 50%.
Exactly. So you need to make sure that the post houses, that the equipment are QC'd even closer.
Quality control.
Exactly. So I don't want to make it sound like we don't quality control everything, because we certainly do, but with a unit going into a post house, you go over it with a fine-tooth comb to make sure it's at 100% at all levels.
It sounds from the way you're talking that the technical issues here have pretty much now been resolved. There's a standard, the color coordination that has to be done can be done. Has the digital standard pretty much now been standardized, stabilized, and put in place so that it's ready for refinement by particularly good users, and is the standard and is the system for cinema in theaters going forward?
Pretty much it has. The pieces that are up in the air are more the background pieces. How do the keys, security keys, work? How do you control the security keys? The technology of how it plays back and how it looks on screen, that's been settled.
Because I've been to several screenings at 6433 Hollywood Boulevard at the USC Center there, and it looks pretty good.
It looks excellent.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to talk about now is since the post houses are using your system and the technology is pretty much stabilized, the question is when can more people access this environment? What's the story, as much as you want to say, and as it's developed so far, in terms of the deployment of your products and if you'll pardon me saying it, maybe your competitors, into theaters, and what's the structure of that arrangement, and how's it proceeding?
Well, we feel 2006 is the year that this conversion is going to start. There's a number of companies doing beta test sites. There's a number of companies that plan still within 2006, after they do their beta sites, to continue the rollout. Those companies, I'm not speaking out of turn here, I'm just quoting what's been quoted in the press already. You may be familiar with. There's Technicolor Digital Cinema is one of the companies who announced in the trades that they are doing work with Century Theaters as well as they're working with other theaters. You've got Access IT and the subsidiary called Christie AIX, which are also, they're another business plan. You have a third-party plan from a company called Cinematica. You have other companies like Dolby did the 84 screens for Chicken Little with Disney. So you have companies that are actually doing digital cinema deployment right now within the U.S., as well as companies such as forgive me, I've just lost both their names, but there is a company in the UK that is doing deployment of digital cinema, as well as one in Ireland, both of which NEC is involved with from a projector standpoint.
Those are some of the specifics. As a general proposition, what are the financing issues involved in the deployment of digital cinema to theaters, especially in terms of how much is going to be saved by whom, and how that savings is going to be distributed, and how the burden of the capital outlays to achieve that ongoing economy is going to take place?
Well, basically, that's been the thing that's slowed it for the last year, is the lack of a pure business plan that works. One of the things I should have said before when I named those other companies, you also have very large-scale exhibitors looking at potentially doing it themselves, such as National Cinemedia, which is Regal, AMC, as well as other companies. They do the advertising, the on-screen advertising for them. They are involved with possibly putting together a plan in-house for their theater partners.
Is there a sense in which the advertising that we have to watch before shows is going to spur the business plan here to move the digital cinema technology into theaters faster?
It will certainly help pay for it, because that is an additional revenue stream for the exhibitors. The exhibitors stand to have additional revenue stream from not only advertising, but also being able to run alternative content, such as sporting events. Imagine that we're coming up on Super Bowl Sunday.
Right.
You can go see the Super Bowl in your local theater on a big screen and feel like you're right there in the the stadium watching the game.
Apart from the 7-second delay, live.
Exactly. So you have things such as that. You can deploy Broadway plays. You can deploy concerts. You have a lot of alternative content options, which can be very beneficial to the cinema. You also have the fairly significant savings from a print standpoint, not needing to make 35 millimeter prints, and from a shipping standpoint, not shipping a 55-pound 35 millimeter print. So the studios stand to save on that front. So you can see that there is complications as far as the business plan goes, because there's savings on both sides, and of course both sides don't want to pay for it. So we're finally getting to a point where people, the various plans, the various partners in those plans, are actually realizing business plans that will work for this deployment.
I suppose if the Paramount decision of the late 40s hadn't taken place, it would have been easier.
Exactly.
If studios and theaters hadn't been divested of each other.
Exactly. Because then it would be one single company doing this deployment.
And saving the money.
Correct.
Can you say how many theaters in the U.S. now are digital cinema ready, and how many, we'll answer that first.
In the U.S. there's about 120. Worldwide there's about 350. A little bit more than that. But the transition, I think you will see the transition happening in the next 6 months. It'll start to pick up speed, and a year from now you'll start seeing large-scale deployments. Okay.
And that, of course, will make it more possible for studios to release more films in digital.
Correct. If you have followed some of the trade publications, the announcements of both Christie AIX and Technicolor is that the studios have given their support to these companies, guaranteed that there will be films available digitally. They're all looking at something in the 70 to 80% in the next year of the films will be made available digitally, and that within 2 to 3 years, 100% of all films will be made available digitally.
So, Steven Soderbergh just released Bubble on DVD, on high-definition television and in theaters more or less simultaneously. Is the advent of digital cinema a force that has the potential to pull people back into theaters? In the 50s, when television first came to the fore, people stopped going to theaters, so they did widescreen and biblical epics and a whole lot of stuff to bring them back in.
Right.
now that people are staying in their home theaters and watching DVDs, how important is digital cinema as a way of bringing them back into theaters?
I think it'll help bring them back because today people look at theaters as simply that. They're a theater, that's where you go to see a movie. I think the whole transition will actually make people start to look at cinemas as entertainment complexes. You won't be going just to see a film, you'll be going to see a concert, to see a sporting event, to take part in interactive discussions, things like that. So I think the whole view of the theater will begin to change. It won't be, your home theater on steroids, it'll have a lot more possibilities.
So essentially it'll be a video conferencing center, and some of the time it'll just be showing filmed entertainment, and sometimes people will be interacting.
Yeah, correct. I think filmed entertainment will still be the primary source of revenue, but you will have all these alternative content options, such as teleconferencing for large groups, such as sporting events or concerts. So it will be more of an entertainment destination than simply a film destination.
Is there much more to expect in the near term in terms of the further technical evolution of this technology, or is it pretty much where it's going to be for the next, say, 5 years?
I think it's pretty much where it's going to be. The technology is very stable. It actually exceeds film at this point. The transmission of the content is there. You have the capability of getting it there. That will probably be the thing that changes the most. As networks speed up, as technology allows for faster recording and downloading, it will actually get the content there faster. The playback units are probably about as stable as they're going to get for quite some time.
Now, you mentioned alternative content. Could you say a little bit more about that? For example, this interview is being recorded on a Casio handheld video camera. It's going to go to a server. Is there any technical impediment to putting this through that network and projecting it in digital cinema theaters?
None whatsoever. Obviously, the content quality is the key. So the better the resolution, the better it's going to look on screen.
And of course, compelling content is always important.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you for providing a bit of compelling content for us today on Etopia Media's Entertainment Technology World, and for bringing us up to date on the latest in entertainment technology.
Thank you, Mark.